Welcome back to another convoluted disaster by a broken old man who thinks it was the thing the British did in World War II to break Enigma. As I mentioned in my previous VRAM video, I have a short review of the Acer Predator 18, which is honestly a sleeper steal that I'm shocked no one talks about or even considers when they're looking for an 18-inch laptop. It just baffles me. But before that, a couple of things. The first is I apologize for the audio quality of these videos. I'm using a blue Yeti snowball thing that to me looks like the most professional external microphone money can buy. But according to my kids and everyone I talk to, it's a giant pile of steaming dookie. So I'm going to work on getting a replacement at some point. Um, so kind of this is the first step in me trying this thing where I conduct 5-minute reviews of the tech I get my hands on, because we're all busy and I don't have the time or energy to make the crazy reviews that Jared or Notebook Check make. It's weird, almost as if a wife, several children, a needy dog, and a soul-crushing career completely drain you of your will to live and ability to wake up and face each day with renewed hope and happiness. So, if you like small, digestible bites of tech review to give you the basics before a purchase that says will be around 5 minutes, but probably will not be exactly 5 minutes, well, watch someone else because I'm sure they'll still do a better job than I do. But I always try to answer as many questions as I can in the comments, so shoot them over and let's get going. Um, just as a way of an introduction, the Predator 18, in this case, the PH 1871, very catchy model number. This is the 2023 model, which came in a variety of flavors from the 4060 up to the 4080 and various configurations of RAM and hard drive, screen, and all that stuff. Thankfully, mine was the top of the line version of the 2023 model, which has the full 175 watt RTX 4080, 32 gigs of 5600 megahertz DDR5 RAM, a 1 terabyte lump of steaming dog crap that some people may potentially call an NVMe drive, and a friggin' stunning 1100 nit 2560 by 1600 mini LED panel that runs at 250 hertz. And if I could marry it, I absolutely would. Acer is not a brand I have a lot of experience with. They tend to pack a lot of performance and features into more affordable machines, and the Predator 18 is no exception to this. It definitely is the cream of the crop for Acer laptops, and it's a weird mix of feeling, I don't know, premium and cheap as all heck at the same time. They single-handedly helped me coin a new term that I'm going to use a lot in this video and other videos: cheapium. The Predator 18 is a cheapium laptop. And what do I mean by that exactly? Well, let's start with the lid. It's a nice, cool feeling metal, but the base is a creaky plastic that bends if you look at it the wrong way. The palm rest area is metal, I think. I mean, it could be plastic, could be metal, which isn't necessarily a good thing to have a customer confused about. Awesome LED strip at the back is just a thin plastic thing that snaps onto the body and held in place precariously by a single little cable. The plastic magnetic grill covers at the back, because any man can willingly have relations with a sloppy pig wearing lipstick, I guess. It's big, bigger than most other 18-inch laptops, and it's heavy. I mean, it's an 18-inch laptop. I'm not sure what you want to hear about it in terms of weight. All in all, it feels more solid than most plastic laptops, but it has an element of underlying cheapness. Um, I'll give you an example. The newer Lenovo Pro 7 is mostly plastic, and it manages to feel more quality than this. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't have an issue with the build quality necessarily. It feels solid enough. It just feels like, they cut a few corners, which, I mean, given the price, makes sense. Now I know that Acer has a Predator Triton, which is a more premium body build, but I think that only goes up to a 4070. So I'm not sure what else I can say about this screen. I've always been in love with like those 500 nits screens that have been coming out the past couple of years on laptops like the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro and the 7, and yes, the G14 4080, as well as the previous gen one with the 6800 or 6700S. I thought those were bright and beautiful. And true story. So when the 40 series laptops first came out, I took a work bonus and I splurged on a Gigabyte Aorus 17X 4080 when it first came out. That laptop was amazing. Like it felt, the build quality was amazing. It was all metal. Everything was fantastic. And I was going to replace my 2022 G14, the one with the 6800S, with that Aorus, but I returned the Gigabyte because the screen was dull and dim compared to that eye-nuking 500 nits of the G14. And I'll say it right now. So 500 nits to me is awesome and perfect. And when people were going nuts about the mini LEDs that came out in 2023, I thought like a year ago, like I saw people complaining about how certain laptops were only 500 nits. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like Razer laptops that cost twice as much as any other laptop had these dull, washed out garbage screens until like a year ago. So come on, guys. 500 nits is awesome and perfect, but this thing has changed my life. 1100 nits. Like I need to say that again. 1100 nits. Actually, 1105 peak HDR brightness. In SDR, it only hits about 400, which is still pretty good. But the mini LED in this thing is just ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. It's wrong. It's so wrong that I don't even feel like I deserve it. Like I feel like I should go in a corner and cry and call myself a naughty boy just for staring at it. Um, it's also G-Sync supporting, runs at 250 hertz. So this thing will look smooth no matter what you do, but I do find it challenging to run most games at 250 FPS. I'll get to more on that in a bit with their performance. But I mean, I've never been, I don't want to say the word, a lady of the night when it comes to hertz or screen speed. I just like things to look good and look smooth. Like I'm one of those guys that most games, anything above 60 FPS is perfect for me. Um, for whatever reason, when I play Fortnite, I like to push it and try to get as many FPS as I can while still keeping all the eye candy on. I don't know why. I mean, it's friggin' Fortnite, but hey, whatever. 20 bucks is 20 bucks, right? Now, thankfully, this Predator comes with almost everything you'll need without much need for upgrading. The Intel Killer Wi Fi is fantastic with absolutely none of the issues that older versions of Killer had. I still remember the Killer Wi Fi. I think it was in an M17, an Alienware M17R3, and it just decided not to work 90% of the time, or it was super slow. And you had to like download Intel drivers and fool your laptop. Just what a nightmare. This one's much better. The RAM is 5600 megahertz and it's solid, so no worries there. But we have to talk about the SSD. And this is one of the areas where Acer clearly cut corners because the one that came in this was a Micron 3400. It's technically a Gen 4 NVMe, but it's absolutely atrocious. Not only are the speeds a bit lower than a decent Gen 3, but it heats up like the surface of the sun and throttles itself. Like an NVMe drive throttling. What crazy world do we live in? So I upgraded to a Western Digital Black SN850X, which is my go-to for fourth gen drives. Grabbed a 1 terabyte for the main drive, and then I grabbed a 2 terabyte King spec. I don't even know the model. It's the one. It's the one that has the what's it? NAND RAM. Like I said, SSD drives. The cheaper ones are cashless, DRAM cashless. This one does have a DRAM cache, and it's pretty decent. I mean, I was using it as a primary drive before, but I just like Western Digital, so whatever. So if you do pick one of these up, you will absolutely have to factor in an SSD upgrade. Normally I'd say, meh, you can live with it. Like I had a Legion 5 Pro that had two 1 terabyte drives, and they were okay, and they were good enough to use. So I didn't feel like I had to upgrade those. But this is not one of those cases. No one should have to live with the garbage that comes with this laptop. Um, it's an 18-inch gaming laptop with a mini LED screen and a 13900HX CPU. Oh, you want me to elaborate? Okay, on eco mode with brightness at 30%, I get about 3 hours of battery life just doing the bare minimum in a Google Sheet or a Google Doc. Oh, you want me to elaborate even further? No. So this is going to be a hot take that is frowned upon by most people, but I honestly think the second best GPU in every laptop cycle is pound for pound the best one to go with. A few years ago, the 140-watt 3070 was the sweet spot, and it kind of made people who spent on the 3080 look a bit foolish. Then the 3070 Ti made spending money on the 3080 Ti look like you were just burning cash to stay warm. I know Jared's Tech did an awesome video on this where he compared the 3070 Ti to the 3080 Ti, and it's like, just get the 3070 Ti, you're good. With the 40 series cards, NVIDIA apparently had a big meeting where they decided to completely annihilate customer trust by making the 47 really a 4060 and the 4080 this gen's 4070, but calling it a 4080. So, don't get me wrong, the 4060 and 4070, they do get a lot of flack, but they're fantastic cards. Like, they max their performance out at 100 watts, which makes them perfect for thin and light laptops like the G14, um, the G16. I honestly, being an owner of a G14 with a 4080, it kind of makes sense to stick with a 4070 or a 4060. That's really the sweet spot for that form factor. But I mean, whatever. You get your money's worth no matter what. Um, and the 4070 and 4060 are wonderfully playable with any game. The Predator 18 here packs the RTX 4080 and it manages to maintain 175 watts steadily during gameplay. With the 4080 and 4090, I do know that extra wattage does indeed make a difference. So, just examples at 1440p with ray tracing, ultimate, and frame gen enabled, I get about 102 FPS in Cyberpunk. At Fortnite with epic settings, I'm at a steady 71 FPS. Witcher 3, which I have tried to start and stopped abruptly about 7 billion times, I'm getting about 52 FPS. It's an absolute monster. Oddly enough, these scores aren't quite as crazy high compared to the 125-watt 4080 in my G14, which is only trailing those scores by about 10 to 15%, which sounds like a lot, but I mean 83 to 85 FPS with ultra ray tracing and Cyberpunk maxed out on a 14-inch laptop is friggin' crazy. But I digress. On performance mode, the Predator 18 maintains full wattage to the 4080, and temps for both the CPU and GPU stay below 80 degrees, even during several hours of gameplay. It's incredibly powerful and steady, and it's honestly one of the best performing 4080 laptops you can buy. Seriously, like, compare it to the Scar and Blade and Legion 7, it's near the very top of that list consistently. This is one area where well done, Acer, well done. Side note, the reason I say just stick with the second best in a generation is that, I mean, the next gen always makes the previous one look like a little wuss, right? The jump from the 3080 Ti to the 4080 is astronomical. And I have some news for you. The 5080 is probably going to make the 4090 look like a mangy puppy in an alley begging for scraps of food. Just don't spend an extra $800 to $1,000 on a 4090 laptop. To me, it isn't worth it. And, maybe that's just because I have an unhealthy addiction to changing my laptop every couple of years. But I don't want to spend the extra money on the very best because 2 generations later, I'm going to want something better than that. So it's just not worth it. Another area where Acer, I think, went with a cheapium build is the cooling. I know Jared does a really great breakdown of this when he reviewed this laptop, but essentially Acer went with a standard 2 fan and shared heat pipe setup here, leaving a ton of empty, unused space that could have been used for additional cooling. Don't get me wrong, it does a great job of cooling the laptop. And on performance setting and Predator Sense, the CPU and GPU both hover right at around the 78 to 80 degree mark, no matter what game I play. But they could just have done a bit more here, like throw in a third fan, a vapor chamber, anything would have helped because the fans can get pretty loud as they work really hard to keep the temps reasonable. I know that this has been a gripe of a lot of people that reviewed this, and Acer laptops in general tend to be the loudest fans you can get on a laptop. But I always find fan noise to be the least relevant metric for a gaming laptop, honestly. I mean, wherever I play games, I have my Alienware AW920H headphones on, which are and I'll maybe do another review on these, the best wireless tri mode active noise canceling gaming headsets you can get anywhere without hesitation or debate. Um, but I have those on all the time. So most of the fan noise is completely drowned out. And I'm sorry, but once you start arguing about how 65 decibels is worse than 58, you honestly have bigger problems in your life and you probably need to get them sorted. Yeah, Acer laptops are louder. Um, but if you're in a coffee shop pushing Cyberpunk on insane ray tracing, like fix your life in a hurry, young man. So, quick note on the settings. I'll talk about the Acer Predator Sense software in a minute, but just use performance and fans on auto. I've played with manual fans, fans on max, turbo mode, all the different combinations and permutations. I can't even speak English now. Performance is just the perfect balance of fan noise, cooling, and performance. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Ah, fuck, I'm old. Predator Sense software is a mixed bag, and Acer really needs to pay more attention to apps by model. If you go to the Acer support page and look up the PH1871 in one tab and the 72, which is the 2024 model, in another tab, a lot of the drivers for the exact same hardware are outdated on the 71, including the version of Predator Sense. I was having a bunch of nightmare issues after fresh installs of Windows, like Predator Sense version 4 or something, constantly failing to show any temps and just crashing randomly. The Realtek audio driver would completely shut off all audio services entirely when I plugged in the USB dongle for my Alienware AW920H headset. It was just horrible. So one day I accidentally went to the PH18 782 page, and literally every issue I had was instantly fixed. The newer audio driver worked perfectly. Predator Sense was version 5 with all the additional bells and whistles like optimized battery charging. The bottom line is that Acer needs to do a much better job curating software for their various models. Having all the old crap for the 71 and the new for the 72 makes a customer feel like their year-old machine is now absolutely worthless and forgotten, and it's a really horrible customer experience. So, if you do own any of the 2023 Predators, be they Helios or Neo, check the downloads page for the 2024 version of that laptop and use that stuff. It works perfectly fine and it's much better. On its own, the Predator Sense app is pretty decent. It doesn't hold a candle to Lenovo Advantage or G Helper, but it looks great and it makes it very easy to adjust everything you need to adjust. Not sure what else to say here, kids. Now, here's the other major gripe I have with Acer. Even though this laptop has a 13900HX, an HX processor, the BIOS completely locks it. What does that mean? Absolutely zero ability to do any kind of undervolting whatsoever. None. Nada. You have a better chance of hearing one of my kids say they love and respect me. Now, that isn't a big deal because the 18 does a really phenomenal job cooling the internals, but it's just the principle of the matter. 2, 3 years down the road, I might want to start undervolting when the liquid metal starts wearing out and I'm too afraid to repaste it. If you're going to lock things down, just use an H processor. Using an HX means Acer had to go out of its way to develop ways to prevent users from undervolting. Meanwhile, companies like MSI are all, hey, you want 18,000 different settings to tweak your CPU beyond recognition? Here you go, cowboy. And given Acer's horrible track record updating software for the PH18, I don't think there will be another BIOS update at all, let alone one that magically unlocks undervolting. So, a big word of caution if you love doing that sort of thing to your laptops, you can't with this one, and I would just honestly avoid Acer altogether. So, it's an affordable way to get your hands, excuse me, on a full powered 4080 laptop with a mini LED screen for cheaper than most other 4080 laptops. But that comes with a few compromises. The weird software obsolescence can be worked around pretty easily, making for a decent overall experience. And the build quality compromises aren't too crazy. I mean, it's a nice cheapium feel. Oh my God, I'm choking on my own sadness here. A locked BIOS means your dreams of undervolting are crushed, like my hopes and dreams. But shockingly, good cooling keeps the CPU and GPU humming along at full power at acceptable temps. The fan noise is louder than other 4080 laptops, but it's a friggin' laptop. I mean, come on. So, all in all, if you can get one for a decent deal, it's an extremely solid big screen laptop to sink your teeth into. Overall, I give it, oh, I don't know, 8 neurotic, slightly obese Collie Shepherd mixes out of 10. And that about does it. I now have to go cook dinner for my family, cleaning everything up after cooking, do the dishes, drag my daughter kicking and screaming through homework, walk the dog, and then pass out while watching the corpse of Star Wars getting savaged by people at Disney who hate Star Wars as I slowly slip into MGTOW territory. Until next time, stay out of trouble, spend wisely on tech, and enjoy every free minute you have in between the relentless slog of work as you march slowly along the plodding path towards death and obscurity. I really should talk to someone.